cat in the wall, eh? Okay, now you're talking my language.
Do you ever drunk Baileys from a shoe?
All right, welcome into the View from C Deck, boys and girls, and back from out of nowhere, out of South America. The Haas comes crawling back to us here to talk about the Buckeyes and what happened Saturday night in East Lansing, as well as a preview of the Iowa game. And back in the shoe, back in the friendly confines, but pretty good showing on Saturday night, boys. By the way, this is the View from C Deck, and I'm just Matt. The Haas down there in the glasses. Dyerwolf up top. The Haas, I'll talk to you first, though, since it's been a couple weeks. What'd you think watching the Buckeyes play Saturday night? Were you a little nervous with the defensive performance again? Now, this time, I wasn't last time. I thought everybody's overreacting. This time, I was a little nervous, too.
Yeah, it was fun being able to watch them again, not having to be able to do that in a couple weeks. Yeah, defense seemed like they were dialed in, and it seemed like Ransom and fucking the safeties came to play, and that back end was just locked in. Igbinosa had a couple miscues here and there, but I think overall, I mean, you're going to have that in a game. You're not going to be perfect, and I think they played as close to perfect as probably possible. Not there at the beginning, a little slow start, but first road game
was bad.
I'm just saying, first road game, in my opinion, you're always going to have those jitters. You're always going to have those miscues, I think, on the road. I'm willing to look past it.
Yeah, what were your first thoughts there, Dyerwolf?
Yeah, I have been more critical this year than ever before. So I was a little upset again, like I was last week on the defense. The way they started, they just drove right down the field, but they kept getting bailed out. And I kept thinking, all right, they'll get it together now. And then they go right down the field again, and Michigan State just is screwing the pooch a little bit. I mean, they could have been ahead going into halftime, probably if the ball bounced the right way a couple of different times. So I wasn't thrilled in the first half, but second half, Buckeyes have given up a total of 3 points on the entire season on defense. So they're making adjustments. I mean, they weren't giving up huge plays, which was good. They were really good on third down all day. So overall, I think the defense was a B for the whole game. It was a C in the first half, though.
Yeah, first half had me worried. We'll talk a little bit more than later, but we'll talk about the offense first, like we usually do. On the offense, I think there's a couple things that stick out, but the first one we have to talk about is the freshman, Jeremiah Smith. Holy shitballs. Between him and Ryan Williams, too, are these like the two best receivers in the country already, and they're true freshmen? Like, I think so. To be honest, I think so. They're both shredding, but 2 one-handed snags in like a 27-second span. The second one being absurd, full speed, ball's a freaking rope, and he just like palms it like it's just standing in front of the jugs machine, just having a day. It has the touchdown run too. Like, we need to find more ways to just get him the ball, I think, because he's too nasty once he has it. He's too big and strong and fast. He also blocked really well, like sprung a couple big runs with his blocking. I mean, I can't say enough about that kid right now. I want to talk about this in another podcast at some point. God, I hope he stays all 3 years.
Yeah, he's polished. Like, I didn't know if the hype was real. Everybody always seems to hype up 5-star freshman coming, and everybody said he's polished. He looks like a veteran out there, and sure as shit, he's making plays that these third-year, star receivers are making in their junior year, and he seems like he's ready for the draft now. And yeah, does he stay all 3 years or whatever? That's another conversation. But yeah, Jeremiah, Ibuka even had a nice game, and just seeing Carnell Tate was involved there early on too, and it's nice to incorporate some of these receivers. And thank God Scott was finally involved in the game, and to see him get the tight end room kind of going there too. It just seems like all areas of the offense are finally kind of starting to come together.
Dyerwolf, what do you think about Will Howard?
It was a kind of a tale of two halves, like McCord last year. First half, well, I don't even know if it was that much. So much.
No, it's like 2 throws that were bad. Well, 3 throws that were bad, and one he got bailed out by Smith.
Because he started out like 9 for 9 or 8 for 8 or something like that, and then like the whole second quarter he was basically trash. And that pick was awful. But he was making some good decisions that There was like a 3rd and 1, maybe it was 4th and 1, where he just went straight up the middle and got the easy yard, and then he had that rushing touchdown, looked good there. So there was good and bad with him, but overall I was okay, but it was his worst game so far. But real quick, Jeremiah, I got him at plus 15,000 to win the Heisman before the season started. He's now plus 5,000, so feeling good about that.
I mean, this Heisman race is stacked though against him.
Yeah.
Genty should win it. I'll say it right now. Genty should win it. Right now, he's putting up literally Barry Sanders numbers. If anybody puts up Barry Sanders numbers, I don't care who they're playing against. They win it. No, F that. So, yeah, Will Howard, basically 2 terrible throws where he just locked in and just didn't see what was going on, especially the one that should have been picked in the end zone. And you're right, like 1 or 2, Michigan State just didn't get the opportunities that they didn't take advantage of, the opportunities that they were given. And Ohio State did on defense, and vice versa. The second throw was just horrific. That interception, like double clutching. You're looking at the double coverage, like, I'm throwing it anyway. I've done that on the video game a couple times, but nobody should be doing that in real life. But other than that, like, he's really good. The designed runs, the like QB powers, he was not attacking fast enough. He's almost too patient, especially with how violently Michigan State was attacking our run game. Like, our run game was just okay, 5.3 yards a carry. It was a little bit better than that, I guess, if you don't count people's garbage time touches with the backup of the line. But still, it wasn't like explosive because they were flying downhill. That was a pretty physical game, I'd say, Michigan State played. I think I was impressed overall by them. I don't think the score really tells at all how close the game was. And if Childs ever gets over his turnover syndrome, they can actually maybe make some noise. But yeah, I'd like to see him be a little more like just go full throttle on those runs if we're going to incorporate him in the running game that way. But I'd rather just go read options every now and then. Like, I don't need QB powers. We got running backs that can get those 1 yards. I want read options or things that are going to trick the defense and put them in a tough situation to make choices on what they're going to defend.
He's not like he's not the Justin Fields type of athletic I'm fine him doing those those powers, and he can kind of make a guy miss at the line of scrimmage if need be. But is it just me, or does it seem like when he's got a guy open, like there was a play that stood out for me when I think it was Scott who ran like a 5-yard out to the sideline, and not all of his throws, but there's some that it just seems like he's like half a second to a second late on that. Like, it seems like he's like holding it on a little bit longer. And it seems like when you watch these great quarterbacks in the NFL, especially, I know he's not enough a quarterback, but it seems like they're always on rhythm, always hitting these guys. And I just think I would have expected that of him by now, to be kind of in rhythm all the time. And it just seems like sometimes he's not. Am I the only one getting that?
No, I think you're right, but I don't know if I expected it right away. Like, these are new receivers. It's still new stuff to him, basically. Like all these guys are. 4 games into a season, I'm not sure they're going to be like totally in sync yet, or he's like totally comfortable with like, okay, because I mean, look how many tight ends we play. You got to remember who you're throwing to like every time. That can be a little bit tough if you're not like sure who exactly who's in there at the time. But talking about tight ends real quick, I don't like seeing them get involved that much. I don't think our tight ends are good at catching the ball, or like I don't think they're good passing weapons, especially when we got everything else around them. Like, it's a good counter punch, I guess, to like keep people from overplaying it. But then also, like, you have on the sack that we did give up, or maybe he got a holding. That's what it was. G. Scott's pass blocking. He should never be pass blocking. If he's in the game, it's to run routes or run block. Like, pass blocking, he's just not built for that, and it just makes no sense. So I just rather I don't think I need to see too much more. Like, Kasmerick is not a good receiver out there. He's just not. I don't need to see that much of it unless it's like just the counter punch.
Overall, though, I thought the running game was actually solid. I mean, I said it in our text, but the talent level is going up literally every game. Every game, the opponent's getting a little tougher. We said in the last podcast that Michigan State's basically top 25 in almost every category going into that game. And give me 5.5 yards a carry against that, I'm okay with it. There was a couple of bad plays, but there was just as many great plays. So it kind of balanced out. And I thought they did a pretty good job, but it could have been better.
You could see why they were hitting. And number 7, Turner, their linebacker, was all over the field. He was making some great plays. All right, now let's go over to the defense, though. First half, we're giving up like 7 yards of play, chunk after chunk, but we get over it. We get a 4th down stop on a great play on the QB sneak by Simon, like times it up perfect, and Ty Hamilton taking out the legs of the center, like they defended it perfectly. And then we just get 2 very good plays to force the fumbles by Hancock and Lathan Ransom, but it's after giving up huge chunk plays like to get down there. So it works out and doesn't look that bad come halftime, but the second half, you're right. We just completely shut them down. Second half, completely shut them down. But they're an inconsistent offense. So, we're still not going to play a good offense until we play Oregon, I think.
Yeah.
What I'm mainly seeing, though, we get lied to again about injuries. Tyleik Williams does not play. We're not an elite run defense without him, or we're not an elite defense without him. And that's a lot of teams. If your best defensive lineman isn't in, you're not going to be as good as you can be. But I think it's pretty obvious. Like, we need him in there to really set everything in motion. And JT got that sack in the second half, but we got to see more of a pass rush when we're only rushing 4. We're just not getting it right now. Maybe it's part of the game plan because we're playing those running quarterbacks, but I don't know.
Yeah, basically every position group on the entire team has great depth except defensive tackle. So, and that was a concern coming into the year. So if he's out, I don't know if we can beat the Georges or Bamas of the world, but with him we can certainly basically beat anybody. So he's a big loss. I hope it's not going to be a freaking Jackson Smith and Jigba crap where they keep saying he's available, and then he never plays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I said it last year, like we were never really tested. I just feel like we in this Big Ten we're not facing good offenses. We're not facing good offensive weapons because I don't know if Denzel Burke and Igbinosa are actually good or not. I feel like they are, to be able to, they're locking down receivers week in and week out, it feels like. But then he makes bonehead idiot plays like that. I was really irritated when he just stumbled and bit on that guy's fake on the inside. And it was a good move, but I don't know. We're going to see how we do against Oregon. That's the biggest test. And that's where I'm going to be looking at the most is how the cornerbacks fare. That's my attention.
Yeah. One guy I do want to highlight, Caleb Downs, was all over the damn field. He looked like another number 2. I said that in my other group chat because I got a guy that just would probably suck Mike Doss's dick if he just walked in the room. But he looked like Mike Doss flying up in run support and just stonewalling people. He had 4 tackles at the line of scrimmage from safety, and he's not playing up in the box either. He's flying up and just diagnosing. Hopefully it's with enough restraint, and if the play action game can't take care of it, but I can't hate on him yet. He's not got burned at all, and he looks awesome right now. The linebackers though, we're getting cooked in coverage, bad. And so I love Simon, but I don't think he's great in pass coverage. He's not that quick. Sonny should have the skills, but he got burnt by the tight end on that play that Hancock ended up punching the ball out, or ripping the ball out. Probably need to see more of them. Wasn't their best game.
Yeah, and I was surprised Reese started because they played 3 linebackers. I don't know why they did that, but I think that it seemed to kind of bite them in that first drive at least. I don't know how often they kept that going throughout the game. I guess I can't really remember, but that one surprised me. And then they were probably the worst position group of the whole game.
Yeah, you were really critical of them last year, Haas. Have you seen anything this year that leaves you to think it's the same thing, or just they need a little more seasoning?
Well, I didn't watch last week's game, and it's been a sec for me. But I liked Sonny Styles those first couple of games. It seemed like he was what Caleb Downs was on Saturday. He seemed like Sonny Styles was all over the field to me. And then Ransom came on, and now on Saturday it was Ransom and Caleb Downs everywhere. So Sonny Styles has to be that kind of guy, I think, too, to kind of set the edge on the other side. We haven't had good linebackers. I've said it for year after year. We have not had good linebackers in a long, long time here. I don't know if that's ever going to change. I just want reliability. And if that means putting in more body builds of Sonny Styles to be able to cover tight ends, then I'm fine with that if we're going to be able to stop the run with our defensive line. But I don't know. The linebackers just haven't been it for a while.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have to be better on Saturday here as Iowa comes into the shoe, coming off a bye. They're 3-1. Spread is 23. Well, open at 23.5, already down to 20.5. And man, I know why, because it was ringing the alarm bells in my head too. I was like, oh, I'll take Iowa with 24, first thought. just because they're coming off the bye. We got Oregon coming up next week. This is like the kind of the trap game, but kind of not, because like Casey said, we've been building here, like building in terms of quality of opponent. Over-under was 42.5 and already at 44.5, so the lines have moved a lot very fast here. Their offense, much improved. Believe it or not, when you fire the nepotism kid, shit gets better. Crazy. But they've scored over 30 in 3 of their 4 games this year, and the only one they didn't was against Iowa State, and Iowa State's defense is pretty good. Their running back is averaging over 8 yards a carry, has 685 yards and 9 TDs. We'd be talking a lot more about him probably if Genty wasn't just shredding the entire universe right now. So what do you guys want to see in the shoe there Saturday? A much improved, I think, Iowa team, to be honest.
You see, if the run defense, if Williams is out, then you're going to get a real test there. And then are we going to play 3 linebackers there? Or, what's the scheme going to be like there coming out the gate? I just think anytime we play these teams, the Wisconsin, it kind of comes to memory. Anytime Wisconsin comes in with one of their great running backs, we stuff them. They don't have a good quarterback to be able to stretch the field and test us, and we kind of just play man straight up. I think that's kind of what you're going to see a lot of. I don't think McNamara, I don't know what type of playmakers they have on the outside, if they're going to be able to test us at all. Yeah.
I think what I'm looking forward to seeing the most is Will Howard, because I think he's coming off his worst game probably. Iowa theoretically could be the hardest defense we play the entire season until the playoffs. So I really want to see him pick them apart, not get too greedy. I don't have to see a deep ball, but the offense has been great the whole year. I mean, even last week, when the starters were in, I think they only punted once. We obviously had that terrible interception, but as a whole, they've been solid consistently, and I want to see that continue against a top-tier defense.
Yeah, they have Luke Lachey also, son of Jim Lachey, playing at tight end. That could test our defense a little bit if we overcommit to the run, but, I mean, he's not been like a game breaker or anything this year like he was last year. I think he's had some injury issues, but maybe the bye week got him right. Defensively, that's what can we do against a team that wants to pound it on us all game long? Like, what are we going to be able to do? Yeah, if I assume Tyleek's going to play. Basically, they were being overly cautious, it sounds like, and he was dressed. So at least, that's something. They don't have anything on the outside, though, to threaten us, so I think we can leave our corners out on an island. And those 2 safeties are so good. Like, I can't imagine – they 8 yards of carry. I just don't see there's any way that happens against us. But, I mean, that kid shredded Iowa State, too. He had like 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. Offensively, obviously, Iowa's defense is tough, and they play a lot of good, tough zone defenses, which is what we were struggling with Saturday. Like, if he's thrown in double coverage, it was against zones. So, can the O-line continue to move people around, especially if they're, like, committing to stop flying up and stop the run and, like, hoping that we have to beat them with the play action. Can Will Howard be a little more accurate? Can we win the line of scrimmage, though, and we're going to win the game, just like we said all year, Casey and I especially. If we keep blocking the way we blocked, we're going to win the game. But I'd like to see some more explosive plays coming out of there. We had like one nice run from Henderson. That was about it Saturday night.
Yeah, I thought Juggins is getting better and better, too. I think he's starting to see the field a little bit better. I think he's starting to hit the holes a little bit harder. Because I think he had some nice runs. I mean, they didn't go for 35 yards, but he had in a couple nice 8-10-yard chunk plays, and he was carrying people and falling forward. So I think he's starting to catch his rhythm. So I think I'm not worried about our run game. I'm not worried about their offense, obviously, in general. But, yeah, Will Howard, I think with zone coverage, you're going to have to do a lot of quick times so there's coverage can't get set up, and I think he's going to have to really be on time, and I'm going to be looking forward to that.
The one thing we haven't touched on is I hope Henderson's 100%, because that injury that looked bad, but then he came back into the game. I think he had 1 carry after that, maybe,
and he ran full speed on the sideline immediately.
Yeah, so I mean that just brought back freaking deja vu. Like, just I did not want to see that. Because he gets hurt. I mean, obviously Judkins is awesome, but we can't afford losing one of those guys.
No, we're so thin, and it does worry me that they'll do I still don't like I'm going to hold a guy out. He could play in emergency, but I'll hold him out. I'm like, if they can play, they can play. If they can't, they can't. Don't give me that crap.
Yeah.
Because I don't like the message that it sends. That basically we're not taking this game seriously unless it gets tight. It's kind of what it sends to the team. I don't like that. So either you're playing or you're not. If you're healthy enough to play, you play. If you're not, you don't. It's fine. So I hope we don't get into that game with Henderson, though, because we've seen that every year here, basically, right? Except his freshman year.
Yeah, freshman year was his best year.
Best year, and the only year we didn't deal with that. So last week we get the cover, but we don't get the over. I've gone with the cover and the over every game this year. Now that it's down to 20.5, it's a lot more enticing because I saw the 24 and I'm like, man, it's too much of a trap game. And Iowa's defense is good enough. I think it's like just another level above. And it really wasn't a 38-7 game. It should have been more like a 28-17 type game against Michigan State. And we just got the right plays at the right time. So the 24 seemed too much. 20.5, though, I still don't think Iowa's offense is that good. Can they stay with it? Can they score enough to keep it within 21? Like a 28-7 doesn't sound out of the question. 31-10. But I'll roll with the numbers right now. I'll say the over and they keep it close enough, and we win like 35-17 Buckeyes.
What's the over-under?
44.5.
Oh, my God, that's so close. I was going to say, like, I think we cover, and it's going to be super close. But I was going to say, like, 34-10, 31-10, something.
That's under then.
So under and cover. But
I could see it. Because they're going to try to just run the ball and suck the clock down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I was thinking 27-10. So it doesn't, neither one of those. I think it's a win if we get more than 30 points. I mean, even if we win and cover, but if we get more than 30 points in that defense, I think that's a signal that our offense is capable of doing a lot.
Yeah, I agree. But I do think it's, we've been forcing turnovers. Ransom has gotten the peanut punch down. Like, we're forcing a lot of fumbles this year. He's been like just deadly accurate with it too. If we can break 30, just because I think we'll get the ball in some advantageous positions a couple of times, because if they get down and McNamara has to throw it, I think he's going to make some mistakes, just like every other Iowa quarterback that's ever Iowa quarterbacked. But yeah, so as I ask always every week, did last week's performance against Michigan State and college football as a whole for both of you, did it raise your confidence in the Buckeyes winning the national championship this year?
I don't know. I think last week I said it went level because the Big Ten looked better, but Scum looked like ass. They're underdogs to Washington this week. But our defense scared me a little bit in that first half. So on the reverse of it, I think we played a little bit worse than we had been the whole year. But our competition, like even Oregon, UCLA sucks. They didn't blow their door. They won by. They didn't cover.
Yeah,
I know that much.
It was 28-13 going in the fourth quarter. It was not a blowout.
Yeah. So our biggest competition before the playoffs is not looking as good. So I think as a whole, it's level.
It went up for me. It went up for me, but I think by a lot, because I think everybody's got their flaw. I don't think there's a dominant team. I mean, I think Texas with Ewers could be very deadly, and I would not want to play them right now when Ewers comes back. But after seeing Georgia and even Alabama, they were making plays in their secondary, or they weren't. They weren't making plays in their secondary, and just the lack of defense. So it makes me feel better when our defense has kind of breakdowns and coverages. It happens to everybody, and I think that everybody's kind of going to beat the hell out of each other this year. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't an undefeated team this year.
I am 100% with you, Haas. That I've seen is everybody's got flaws. Ours hasn't totally been exposed yet, but we also have played the weakest schedule of most of these teams. But everybody kind of looks beatable. Everybody's secondary kind of looks beatable, besides teams that haven't played any good passing games, kind of us and maybe Penn State, although they looked better against Illinois. But I think there's a lot of teams that could go on a tear now and win. I think we're right there with anybody. And I think there's a lot of teams that could go there and win a national championship right now, because you've seen some very high A-level games from Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia. us, Penn State, like all those teams, I think have like a very good shot because they have depth too. They have skill everywhere. They have good quarterback play. Like they could definitely make a run. But yeah, like Oregon, like Casey said, Oregon does not. I don't see how they're beating us right now. They're just not playing. Like they are what they are at this point. You're not gonna. You'd have shown something in 4 games that like, or 4 or 5 games that would make you think like, okay, they're a real threat. And they just keep struggling against most everybody except for like the second half against Oregon State. That's about it. But yeah, overall, I'd say it's about the same. But I think it's good. It's a great year for the 12-team playoffs. I think there's a lot of good teams out there that are looking like they could make a run once it comes down to it. Yeah, so that'll do it for this show, though. We're about to make our gambling pod, though. Our week 6 betting lines. Sorry, we all went over 500 last week. We're all over 500 for the year now, thanks to the Haas finally getting back on it. And Casey and I are both like 60% or over there. I'm at 64% from the year, leading the pack. But check us out there. Like, comment, tell us all about how you felt in the first half against Michigan State and what you think we're going to do against Iowa. Hit that little bell so you get all of our videos, though, and subscribe. And we will see you guys next time.
Hey, guys. Oh, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.